One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. University of Idaho Athletic Director Rob Spear makes his first appearance on One Question. And Rob, if you've been at an institution for 14 years as the AD, can we use the term long-time AD, or does that make you feel like, you're getting old or something? Like what's the definition of how long a guy's been or gal's been an AD that I can say the long-time AD? Is 14 years long enough?
I think 14 is long enough, but I worry how we're going to talk about this, because I think maybe you're saying my shelf life has expired here. I hope not.
No. What we do want to talk about today, and what I'm interested in getting your perspective on, is how you and your team effectively interface with the sport of football, right? The program that for many folks around the nation produces the most revenue, is one of the most highly visible entities they have within their portfolio. So walk me through the effective ways you and your team interface with Coach Petrino and the greater football machine, if you will, or the greater football environment there at Idaho.
Well, it takes a whole host of dedicated people to make this work, and I think there are two different components. I think there's a direct component and an indirect component. And the direct component, first of all, as the athletic director, you are responsible for everything that goes on in that program. So personally, I have a lot of oversight in that program. I meet with recruits, I meet with families. Of course, we're paying attention to all the things that go on in that program. But I also think as an athletic director, it's really, really important that you provide your senior level staff with sport oversight responsibility. So in that regard, we have an individual, one of our senior staff members, who is the sport liaison for football, and they work very, very closely with the director of football operations. Most programs have a director of football operations, and they do an unbelievable job in coordinating a lot of the internal activities that go on in a football program. So part of the responsibility, I could break it down into some key areas. I challenge all of our sport liaisons to, if you're going to be that sports supervisor, then pay attention to what's going on in marketing. How are we coordinating poster design? How are we coordinating working with our director of marketing? What are the promotions for the year? You need to work with the coach in marketing and make sure that we have a vibrant marketing program. And media relations, a key component. How are we getting our message out? How are we communicating the great things that are going on in our program? And that also includes making sure our website's up to date, making sure that we are identifying those positive media stories every day that we can push out on our social media. As a sport liaison, very important that you're going to be in charge of academics, oversee the academic component and make sure that we're doing the right things from an academic standpoint. And then, of course, finances and resources, very important. What are we doing in there to ensure we're on budget? What are we doing to ensure that we're utilizing our coaches and our student athletes to help us in our fundraising efforts? And then a big thing that we do here at Idaho is make sure that we have a great community outreach presence, and how we're going to get our student athletes and our coaches out into the community.
So you just basically, I think, reviewed the direct components of overseeing that program and your sport liaison that handles some of that functionality, but educate me on the indirect stuff.
Well, indirectly at Idaho, we do not have control over our football stadium. That oversight is done by another entity on campus, so we absolutely have to have a great relationship and a great liaison there, and I challenge several people on our staff to work with the entity in charge of our football stadium, because they need to make sure of the availability. They need to make sure that there are no scheduling conflicts. You'd be surprised to hear that sometimes the scheduling conflicts that can arise when you have another entity running that facility. Simple things about using some of the surrounding rooms available as part of that, from team rooms to meeting rooms to our club rooms. And then, of course, all the things that go on as far as the maintenance and upkeep of that facility. Those are all things that are very important from an indirect side, that even though you don't have control over it, you certainly need to have some influence and certainly be able to be in a position to provide that entity a direction.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.